everybody, welcome to another YouTube video. For those of you guys that are new here, my name is Dr. Elise Tercy and I practice functional medicine here in New York. This channel is dedicated to all things holistic health and wellness. And for those that are back, welcome again. Today's topic is going to be a kind of debunking segment, if you will, on our thought process, or I guess you can think of it as more of an invitation for us to challenge what we've been trained to know about our health in the sense of the model we grew up with. So I want to talk about the integration of the body, how interconnected things are, how intertwined things are, and share with you guys why, if you're dealing with something, does that something cause another something to happen? And really the whole point of today's video, we're going to dive into thyroid dysfunction, adrenal dysfunction, ovarian dysfunction, periods, menstruation, anxiety disorders, all of the things and how they're connected. But the take-home message of today's topic really is about you do not work in isolation. Your body does not work in isolation. And I know that our model, our conventional kind of cultural system of medicine and health is very organ oriented or very specific. So for example, you go to the endocrinologist when you have a hormone problem. You go to the cardiologist when you have a heart problem. You go to the gastroenterologist when you have a digestive problem. You go to all of the ologists, if you will, when there's a specific problem. And while the ologists are great at what they do, a piece that gets often overlooked for a lot of people is that there's integration between that organ and another organ. And so what can happen is that when we hone in so much on one specific thing, we miss how it plays into other aspects. So let's just dive into what this might mean so it can make a little bit more sense for you guys. Let's start with the HPAO axis, because this will really drive the point home for you guys that if you're watching this, you might be wondering, I had one thing, my problem started with this, and all of a sudden other problems started to happen. And I'm sharing this with you guys because I work directly with patients that share that was their experience. So they share with me, I remember 6 years ago, this thing happened, and that was the start of all of my problems. I remember 4 years ago, this thing happened, and my health took a turn from that point forward. The concept is that one wrong thing or one abnormal cell or one area of stress, one part of inflammation in the body, it doesn't live and work in isolation. It works with other organ systems. So what happens is that people are now saying, well, I had this one problem and it turned into problem number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know what happened. Something happened and I'm not sure what it is. That's a normal physiologic response. So think of your health like a domino effect. So when one of the dominoes falls, it affects the whole system. And today, the example that I'm going to share with you guys is all about the thyroid gland and the adrenal glands and the ovaries, and how the connection is so obvious for people that are dealing with any of these glands and having dysfunction. So let's just talk about, for example, thyroid concerns. Somebody might come to see me, a lot of people do with thyroid dysfunction, but somebody might come to see me because they're saying, I have hypothyroidism, or I have Hashimoto's, I have Graves' disease, or I don't know what I have. I just know I have some type of thyroid problem, which that can be very true for a lot of people. They're not even sure what the nature of their thyroid problem is. They've just been told something is wrong. So here we are with the gland, the thyroid. It's a little baby butterfly gland. It lives in the front of the neck, and its job is metabolism. So the thyroid gland is governing a lot of cells in terms of the metabolism. So it's really involved with growth. It's involved with development, so growth of the tissues, development. It's also involved with energy. It's involved with cognition. It's involved with hormones. Thyroid is involved with keeping your body temperature regulated at a specific degree, like 98.6. Why do we live there? Because our body has this kind of set point. The thyroid is very involved with that. Oftentimes, if someone's dealing with thyroid dysfunction, some of their symptoms are, I'm feeling cold. I feel very cold all the time. The eyebrows, the outside part of the eyebrows can get very thin. Hair loss, losing chunks of hair, clumps of hair. I'm not talking about, pulling your hair and a couple strands come out. I'm talking about the hair loss that's like that came out of the shower or that came out of the brush once and it's a clump of hair. Feeling low energy, feeling really, really achy in your bones, feeling very tired, a lot of brain fog, a lot of cognition problems. Like I don't remember why I came in here and my focus is just not there. Infertility issues. So if you're someone that's having thyroid dysfunction, a lot of times it's found indirectly where maybe you're having some difficulty conceiving and now they're starting to say what else might be going on. The thyroid gland is very involved with our ability to conceive, our ability to get pregnant, and the reason why is because of what we're going to talk about today, which it governs the ovaries. The thyroid has connection to the ovaries. So there's a direct connection between my sex hormones, my estrogen and my testosterone, and the thyroid giving impulse and connection to that. So those are some of the things that if someone's dealing with a thyroid problem from a symptoms perspective, they might feel. That's not a full list of everything. High cholesterol is another symptom. So women oftentimes say, I never had problems with high cholesterol. I'm saying women because that's primarily who I work with, but it can happen for men. Men and women sometimes will say, I don't understand why I have high cholesterol all of a sudden. Thyroid issues can cause high cholesterol and vice versa. Liver stuff, which is where we produce a lot of the cholesterol, can cause thyroid dysfunction. So there's like a two-way bidirectional arrow between liver and thyroid. Think of the body as there's two-way arrows for everything. So if you guys remember from like basic chemistry or basic, I guess it would be basic chemistry, when we would write out equations, I'm thinking of writing equations, you would have an arrow that goes both ways, meaning that this product can turn here and then this product can turn into this. There's kind of a funneling. That's the way the body works, is that one thing can turn into another thing can turn into another. Okay, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent. Let's go back to the connection. The whole point of this video is I'm so integrated, I'm so connected. Every single organ system is so integrated and so connected. You cannot isolate your body. You cannot take pieces of the puzzle and isolate them. It makes the whole puzzle. It's kind of like I'm looking at a puzzle, but there's chunks of the puzzle missing. It doesn't work that way. Your body doesn't work in isolation. So if someone's having thyroid problems, that will cause problems with the adrenal gland. And so when we're looking in blood work, we do find high levels of cortisol, maybe 25, 26 units. We also find DHEA sulfate can be very, very high, 400 units plus. Why would there be a problem that my thyroid is, showing me I have issues with, and now my adrenal glands are also having problems because they're connected through what's called the hypothalamic pituitary axis. It's just a system that means my brain and a master gland in my brain is telling the glands kind of how to function and what to do. And if one of them gets thrown out of alignment, other things get thrown out of alignment. So if the thyroid is under metabolic stress or if the thyroid has inflammation, that will create adrenal gland dysfunction. And so now we start to look at those hormones and say, wow, we're really overproducing some of those hormones from the adrenal glands. Typically, cortisol goes up. That's the typical presentation. When someone's under a lot of thyroid stress, a lot of metabolic stress, the cortisol has a tendency to go up, not down. So we find that people's values in 19.5 is kind of the higher end of cortisol. They have 25, 26 units in their bloodstream. Now, from a symptoms perspective of cortisol being elevated, what might you feel? So you might be thinking, okay, well, my thyroid's out of range and now it's pulling my adrenal glands out of range. What are the symptoms of adrenal gland issues? A lot of times craving salt and sugar together, kind of the combination. The best way to think about it is like a chocolate covered pretzel, the salt combination with the sugar combination. Another sign is that we're often having problems with our diurnal pattern where we're not able to stay asleep when we should be sleeping. So it typically gets shifted where during the hours of 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning, I should be asleep. Well, I'm up now. When there's cortisol dysrhythmia, when there's cortisol disruption, I'm awake now at those hours. When I should be awake during the day, I'm crashing. My energy is dipping between the hours typically of 2 to 4 o'clock. in the afternoon. And all of you guys know this, and you've probably seen this on maybe some other videos, but I do share that I do think that Dunkin' Donuts and a lot of these coffee companies capitalize on adrenal gland fatigue, because they're saying come between the hours of 2 to 4 and get your 99-cent coffee or your $2 coffee, whatever the price is now. They're knowing that people are crashing at that time. Now, not everybody that has those cortisol issues has thyroid dysfunction, okay? But most often, people that have thyroid dysfunction do have cortisol issues. Let's keep going. So we talked about thyroid and how it's very connected to the adrenal glands, which are involved with stress modulation, balancing out our ability to stay calm, our ability to stay awake, our ability to stay alert. Let's go to the next player in the game. The next organ that's involved when one of these is out of alignment is the ovaries for women and the testes for men. From a female perspective, I'm pointing to my ovaries, although I don't think the camera is picking this up. What can happen is that now we start to have problems with our menstrual cycle. So it's the problem started off in the thyroid, and now it traveled to the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands in the female body are the backup ovary. Okay, so when the hormones that are produced in the ovaries can't produce as much as we want, they'll ask their buddy, the adrenal glands, can you guys help me out a little bit? The adrenal glands, that's not their primary job to produce sex hormones, but they can help produce some of the precursor derivatives. So what can happen is now we start to see our periods are a little bit off. We're not having a menstrual cycle bleed every 28 days. We're finding that maybe our cycle is 21 days. Maybe our cycle is every 45 days. I work with women who don't have a cycle for 2-3 months at a time. And we have to balance, we have to go up the chain, okay, up the chain to connect with where might there be other areas of stress. But from the ovary perspective, what can happen is now we have problems getting pregnant. Here comes the infertility issues. We also have problems with our menstrual cycle. And I really want to comment on something here at this point, because I do work, like I said, primarily with women, and there is a lot of unknowns around the need for a menstrual cycle. And I think a lot of women, more so the younger females, if they're using pharmaceutical birth control, they oftentimes will go through their birth control pack and not bleed. You guys, please, there is a metabolic need for a menstrual cycle beyond conception. There is a metabolic need to bleed every single month beyond just I'm preventing pregnancy. And I know this is one of the myths I'd like to debunk from a Western culture, is that we have this notion that we bleed so that we don't get pregnant, or we don't bleed so we get pregnant. But it goes beyond that. The ability to have a menstrual cycle is directly connected to anxiety disorders. There are surges of hormones that have to happen that are not just connected to, am I bleeding or not bleeding? So please, if you're watching this as a female, if you're a mom, if you're someone that knows someone, if you're a boyfriend or a husband of someone that you love and care about, and you know that they're kind of manipulating their chemistry on purpose because they don't want to have a period, please stop doing that. It doesn't do you justice long term. We need a menstrual cycle for bone health. We need a healthy menstrual cycle for heart health. There's a connection between heart and menstrual cycle, absolutely, from a mood perspective. So if we're not menstruating, we can feel very, very anxious. All of those hormones, so luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, all 3 versions of estrogen, testosterone, DHT, dihydrotestosterone, even DHEA, and cortisol, all of those hormones and their cyclical nature aren't just governing if I bleed, they're governing other metabolic processes happening in our body. So it's really imperative that we do have a menstrual cycle. Now, I won't even dive yet right now into the energetics of our menstrual cycle as a female, the kind of energy of the womb, energy healing, chakra healing from the sacral plexus. I won't talk about that stuff in this video. Maybe I'll make another little video about what are the energetics of the female reproductive cycle, how it's connected to the moon, how it's connected to other areas of our life. But I really just wanted to share that with you guys. Please, no manipulating your menstrual cycle. And if you're somebody that says, I do that because I have pain, connect with a functional doctor, because if you're having pain, really horrible periods, really crampy periods, heavy bloating, there's an underlying problem there. And throwing in additional hormones or exogenous hormones is not the long-term solution. It actually can exacerbate things long-term. So let's go back though to the point is that we talked about thyroid. Now we're talking about the cortisol, and now we're connecting that to the ovaries. For men, it could be a little bit different. Men produce in their testes testosterone and DHT, but even so, men do develop thyroid dysfunction, not as common, not as frequently, but they do. And they can have high levels of cortisol, absolutely. What happens when cortisol is elevated is it downregulates thyroid hormone production. So when I'm bathed in cortisol because I'm under so much stress, I now tell my thyroid stop producing and converting the versions of thyroid hormone to the more active versions, okay? So cortisol being abundant in our body downregulates our menstrual cycle. It also downregulates our ability to produce testosterone. And I didn't talk about this yet, but we'll dive into this, that all of these kind of organs, I'm doing this because they all live in the midline of the body. Thyroid, adrenal, and ovaries, they're kind of in the midline of the body, if you will. Obviously no organs live in the periphery, but what then happens is all of these organs talk to the pancreas, and the pancreas is involved with blood sugar metabolism and your ability to maintain your glucose. What can then happen is that now we're starting to have cortisol spewing, we're not having good thyroid function, we're downregulating the ability to produce thyroid hormone, our cycle is becoming sporadic, we're really anxious, we're not sleeping, we're super moody because our period isn't coming on time, and now we're craving sugar. There is connection with the pancreas, which is another organ. So we've talked about so far 4 organs in particular: thyroid, adrenal glands, there's 2 adrenal glands, ovaries, there's 2 ovaries with many eggs on each ovary, and now we're talking about the 1 pancreas and why there's connection to blood sugar imbalances. We now start to get into I'm constantly craving sugar, or I'm having these bouts of ups and downs, and I feel like woozy, I feel a little lightheaded. Now I reach for sugar to help balance, and now we're doing spiky things with our insulin. Insulin, it's the most anabolic hormone, and it directly talks to the thyroid and to the adrenal glands. If you take nothing away from this video other than all of everything is connected, you're in a good place. Okay, I know I'm really diving into some nitty-gritty things for those of you that have a very strong background. A lot of the patients I work with, the people that I connect with, they are knowledgeable to the nth degree. They come in, they're aware of this stuff. Sometimes they're not aware, but you are going to educate yourself through the process of learning about your health so that you can be proactive to balance out and bring your body back into a place of homeostasis, which really means just balance within all of the organs. So there are connections between blood sugar, there are connections between thyroid dysfunction, there are connections between liver. Now, I didn't talk about the liver yet, but what happens is the liver is the synthesizer or the producer of cholesterol. Cholesterol is a large molecule that's the parent hormone to how we produce all of our hormones that are in the sex hormone category. So pregnenolone, testosterone, estrogen. Cholesterol is the precursor that allows us to make those hormones. So if I have dysregulation in my liver, my cholesterol production can be high or low. Typically, if someone has low cholesterol, and I've seen this many times in women, 130s, 140s for their total, they will have problems with their menstrual cycle. They will have hormonal problems, without a doubt. And that's not really addressed in a conventional setting. But from a functional medicine perspective, you do need not too high cholesterol, not too low cholesterol. It's like the story of the little bear. Not too much. Was the story of the little bear the porridge story? I don't remember. I think it was not too much porridge, not too little porridge. I forget. But the point is that you don't want to be spewing cholesterol where you're above 200. You also don't want to be under cholesterol, under the amount that you need, like 120, 130, because then hormone problems start to happen because it's the parent hormone. So the liver is functioning and processing a lot of the hormones. So if someone's dealing with a thyroid problem, it's not as easy in the care, if you will, to just go to the thyroid. We have to look at the other organs. That's why people often come in for care, because they're like, okay, I'm taking Armour, taking Cytomel, I don't know what's going on with my adrenal glands, I'm constantly craving sugar. Something is going on with my body. I don't know what it is, but there's something going on. Women by default are innately intuitive, so we often know something is not right. And I've heard this from women that have gotten pregnant. They're like, I knew I was pregnant before I actually got pregnant. I just sensed I was pregnant. We know, men too. Men have a very strong intuition. I think as humans, if we're able to tap into that, we know when something's wrong. And so a lot of people are coming in and they're sharing this with me that something doesn't feel right. That something is that all of these organ systems need support, and they often need enzymes to help rebalance them out, clear them out, get them back into not overspewing product or underspewing product. Okay. I hope that this video is helpful for you guys so that you can understand. Like I said, I know the paradigm is that our conventional medical model is you're very isolated, you're very puzzle pieced together. I just want to share with you guys that that model, that system is a very old, archaic system. It's broken, and it often leaves people feeling very disheartened or not sure where to go with their health because they're feeling like, I don't know, everything comes back normal. The blood work probably hasn't been really done in the sense of a comprehensive metabolic profile or a comprehensive lab profile. And also that we don't work in isolation. We work together. It's kind of like you're trying to walk. You don't just walk with your legs, you walk with your arms. Your arms swing a little bit, your torso has a little bit of rotation. There's different mechanics, the foot moves, plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. So all of these things are connected. Same thing for the internal chemistry, that everything is very connected. Okay, if you guys have questions, please drop them down below. Otherwise, I hope that that was helpful for you guys to really understand the integrativeness of the body. And I do really want you guys to use this video as an invitation to kind of shift or wake up to the fact my body works. It's so amazing. It's so just innately intelligent, and it knows what to do if given the right tools. Sometimes it's just a matter of finding out what those tools are and balancing things out. Any questions, guys, you know what to do. Drop them down below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.